get the recording started. Great. So thank you, James. I'd love to get to know you and how the whole genesis of this idea came about.
Thank you, Rebecca. So my name is James Cant, and basically 3 years ago, I entered the world of digital marketing as a local SEO guy, and I was managing about 350 different listings for a company called Big Voodoo Interactive. In that 2-year stay, I learned many really invaluable audits and signals to look for that could basically make or break your campaigns when it comes to marketing. And a lot of people don't actually take part of these audits. And that's what we're going to go over today, is just about 5 different audits that we can all do. And they're all really easy to do. You just have to do them and get it out of the way month 1. And you're going to set yourself up for success month 2 onward. We're also going to go over how to properly look at your Google My Business ranks, your Google Map ranks. And we're going to address a serious concern. And this concern is so serious, I actually built a business to try to identify and fight it and work with Google on it. But let's get started. Let's hop in. I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see the screen okay?
Sure
Awesome.
can. Yep.
Awesome. Let me just get to presentation mode. And welcome to the Google My Business audit. We're going to go over the following: the Possum Effect, unique phone numbers, duplicate listings, city limitations, how to see a map ranks, and fighting false competition. This one's going to be the big one. So first, the Possum Effect. What is the Possum Effect? Well, Possum is a name given to an unconfirmed but documented update which appears to most significantly impact Google's local PAC and local finder results. Because the update was never officially confirmed by Google, local SEOs have been left to hypothesize about the potential update's purpose and concrete efforts. So one thing that you may or may not know about Google is they give you general rules and they give you some tools to interact with their system. They will never tell you what their ranking signals are and what is good or bad. They'll just give you some general outlines. It's up to us as a community to then figure out what's really going on through thousands upon thousands of tests. And the Possum Effect is one of those tests that was discovered. So let's get into a little deeper. The Possum Effect is probably the hardest thing to overcome if you're a victim of it. It falls under one of 2 things. One, if you have a Google My Business listing that's in the same building as listings that are the same or similar categories as yours, you're probably a victim of the Possum Effect. And then 2, if you have a listing that is in a building next to another building, and by next to I mean like an alleyway apart, like really, really close, or even touching, you also could be a victim of the Possum Effect. Common examples of this are like law firms. I'm not sure why, but law firms love to be in the same building as each other. You could find it with banks sometimes. What happens is Google will only show one of those listings in that building. If you have in New York City, for example, say 50 law firms in a skyscraper, only one of those 50 is going to show up. And here's a small example. We'll get a little deeper into it here. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of a law firm called Morgan & Morgan. They're one of the largest law firms in the world. And they do have a building in Philadelphia, I believe it is. Within that building is also a few other law firms, some being the Rubin Law Firm PLLC and Eagle Martin and Associates. Now, depending on the keyword and depending how much budget these 2 other law firms have, their chances of outranking Morgan & Morgan are slim to none. It's such a bad situation to be in that, one, if you haven't found an office yet, don't move to a building that has listings that are similar or same as yours. Just avoid the situation. It's that bad. 2, if you're in that situation already and you're just recognizing it right now, it's such an extreme to try to outrank the top person in a building. You might consider just moving. It's so bad. In my prior experience, we've told clients, hey, listen, unless you have a budget of 10,000 plus a month, and even then it's a gamble, you really should just consider moving out of the building. And then 3, your last option is to actually try to outrank that top person in the building and prove to Google that you're better than them. But like I just said, a budget of 10,000 plus a month for a chance to outrank them is what you'd be looking at. And I've only known of one scenario my entire life where that was achieved, and it was about a $10,000 plus a month budget for over a year. They did beat it, but I mean, that's a lot of money where you could just consider moving at that point. So that is the Possum Effect. It just comes down to a filtering algorithm in Google Maps. And you'll know you're a victim of it if you're not seeing any ranks at all. Like, you should always see some ranks, especially if you're at your own office. Let's say you're searching for personal injury lawyer and you're in your office. You probably should see some ranks just because you're so close by. If you don't see ranks, you're probably being filtered out by Google. Next is going to be a very simple one, but a good concept to understand. For every listing you have, you need unique phone numbers. So if you have one office, let's say you have 2 lawyer listings, 2 practitioner listings at that same office, and you have one department listing, that's 4 listings at one address, they all still need to have unique phone numbers. If you're going to use tracking numbers, then you'd want to make the tracking number the primary number on the listing, and then add the forwarding number as the additional number. So this would be the primary number, this would be the forwarding number on your Google My Business listing. If you don't have unique numbers, then what happens is you start causing internal competition with your listings, and some of them can get filtered out by Google. Duplicate listings. This is another big one. It's not so prevalent now. You still want to be checking for them. So what's the problem with duplicate listings? It comes down to just internal competition. If you have Bob's Law Firm on 100 Main Street, but you have like 3 of those listings, Google is only going to show one of them and filter out 2. And then Google could be filtering out the one you're putting all the work behind, having all the reviews behind, all the images, the right information, the phone number. That one could be filtered out in favor of one of the duplicate listings. How do we find a duplicate listing? It's pretty simple. You're just going to go to Google Maps. You're going to zoom in over the address where that listing is, and just start doing searches for yourself. Search for your name, maybe search for the address itself, and see what pops up. You should only see one listing for your one office, one listing if you have a practitioner listing, like a lawyer listing. There should never be more than one. This is a huge one. This is a huge concept to get here, city limitations. City limitations. So when you verify a listing, let's say you're a storefront listing, so a spa, that address becomes the center point for all your ranks. It becomes the brightest light. Like, that section is your brightest light for your entire business in the entire city. So just because you say to Google, hey, I also service a town next door, Google might acknowledge that, but your light's going to be a lot dimmer over there. You're not going to rank as strong near the towns next door. It all comes from that address used to verify that listing. So what happens is, this is Sarasota, Florida, and this was actually a real scenario where there was a law firm outside the boundaries of Sarasota. So you see this red outline here? This is Sarasota as defined by Google Maps. It doesn't matter if your address on the United States Post Office says you're in Sarasota. Unfortunately, Google doesn't care about that. What they care about is your business in this red outline as defined by Google. And the way you can see this outline is, if you go to Google Maps, you can click the city word. So you click Sarasota, the word, and it will just give you this outline. And when we get a little further into seeing ranks in Google Maps, what we saw was it was almost like a wall. Like the law firm was over here in the bottom right, and all his ranks were just 20, just across this wall, because Google wouldn't let him rank in Sarasota. How can you fix this? It comes down to more of an extreme train of thought of just moving the business. You want to move your listing into the area you rank. So if you're trying to target a main city and you're not in a city, you're going to exponentially struggle more than if you're just in the city. And I mean, if a city has 100,000 people in it and your town has maybe 30, it really could be worth your while to move into a city you're trying to target. Now, if you're a service area business, I'm not sure if anyone here is a service area business. All service area business means is you are a listing in Google Maps that does not show an address. If you're a service area business, the address you use to verify the listing means the exact same to you. So if you register your business in Dallas and you said you service Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio, Texas, you will only rank in Dallas because you were verified in Dallas. Google, despite Google having the option there saying, hey, where do you service? They really don't, it doesn't matter as much as you might think. It's only gonna show you ranks in the area you use, the address you use to verify the listing. Gauging your Google Map ranks. So right now I run a young business called Local Business Protection. My day job is with a company called Local Viking. Local Viking is a platform that allows you to get a very strong visualization on how you rank in Google Maps. So the left side is what's called a keyword report. Keyword reports are a staple way, it's a very common way of gauging ranks in Google Maps and Google search. So in this example, this listing was 21st in the local map pack, 22nd in Google search for desktop ranks, and 21st for Google search in mobile ranks, so using your cell phone. The problem is local map pack, you're not able to see where you rank. So you don't know if you're, let's say, second in maps for Appliance Park, Calgary, 100 feet from your office or the entire city. You hope you're ranking throughout the entire city, but the chances are is you're likely not, or you're not able to tell through this keyword report. In the past 3-4 years or so, a few companies have come out with technology called Geographic Reports. And now it gives you a very clear visual on how you rank in Google Maps. So we can see that for this business, James Montana Custom Home Designs, we're running a keyword search on home design. It is a 13 by 13 mile scan. And we can see for about a 2 by 3 mile area, he ranks first in maps. We have a few nodes ranking second in maps and some in third in maps, and that's really cool. But the important thing to get out of this is we now know exactly where in the city they're holding what ranks. And then we can see that, hey, in the surrounding areas, he's doing not so well. Maybe we want to target some surrounding areas. Oops. Sorry about that. There we go. So now for GeoGrids, a GeoGrid doesn't have an address to show. So if you're going to use GeoGrid technology to run scans, you always want to move the GeoGrid over that address that was used to verify the listing. Because once again, your ranks are going to be strongest over the address used to verify the listing. So if anyone here plans to use GeoGrid technology to see scans, just remember that one thing, move the scan over your address. Otherwise, the tool is just not going to know where you are. Now we're going to dive in a little deeper, now that we understand a little bit about GeoGrid scans and how to properly see ranks in Google Maps, how I truly got the idea to make my own business and fight fake listings, fight lead gen listings, fight spam. Because the GeoGrid technology, I can click into any one of these nodes. At any given coordinate on the map, I can see who's in front of me and who's behind me. And I can also flip the perspective of this GeoGrid scan by clicking this I button and see how my competition ranks without spending any other credits or any other money. It's all part of most of these systems. This started making me think, I can really hone in on who's my competition and who is real and who is fake.
James, can I
Yeah.
interrupt you quickly just to back up a little bit? We had a question about where do we actually find, how do we access that GeoGrid?
Yeah, so if you go to localviking.com, and this is what this page is going to show.
Okay, oh, sorry.
Localviking.com is going to be where you can sign up and start using those GeoGrid scans. I also was able to talk with them and got a coupon for us all. So if you would like to try it out, you can get the first month free, or it's not free, 50% off, 50% off.
So the GeoGrids aren't something that Google provides?
It is not.
Okay, thanks.
It's a third-party crawl on Google Maps to give you a strong visualization on how you rank.
Okay, thank you.
Now, for fighting false competition, when you start getting into the GeoGrids, you're likely going to notice the following types of listings: old listings, duplicate listings, fake listings, and keyword stuff listings. An old listing is usually not done in a malicious intent, but you still want to get rid of it. The example would be, let's say I have Bob's Law Firm in Middletown, Connecticut. I decide to move to Springfield, Massachusetts, but I think I have the cool idea of leaving my old listing up in Middletown in hopes of driving traffic to my new location in Springfield. Unfortunately, it's going to make up for a bad experience for that law firm's clients. And then two, technically you don't qualify anymore to have that old listing in Google Maps, because listings in Google Maps are made to service the local area. So Middletown, if you're no longer in Middletown, you no longer service that area. Duplicate listings. So like we talked about before, if you have duplicate listings or you can see other people's duplicate listings, just clean it up for them. Yeah, you're helping them clean up their mess. You're also helping yourself rank stronger, because if that duplicate listing is outranking you, why would you spend time and money trying to outrank a listing that you can just get removed? The big one is fake listings. Fake, there's a huge community, and by huge, I mean it's as common as finding a regular marketing firm at this point, where what they do is they make lead gen listings and they make fake listings in Google Maps in hopes of driving more traffic to that actual listing. So if I'm Bob's Law Firm in Middletown, Connecticut, I qualify for one listing in Middletown. My ranks are going to be the strongest in Middletown. But if I hired a guy to make me some fake listings, I can make 50, 100 listings all throughout the entire state and redirect all that traffic using the same phone number back to my listing in Middletown. Now, all these listings are made in a way that they actually compete and outrank legitimate businesses throughout the state. And if they were legitimate competitors, cool, fair play, but it's not. They're spam. And you only have two options when it comes down to it: outrank them, which could have a really high budget with no guarantee, or report them to Google. That's what it comes down to. And you might as well just report them. I had one client when I first ever did this a few years ago, where we removed 3 listings and they went from 5th in maps to 3rd in maps. 3rd in maps is, it's still not first, but they're in the map pack, which is huge in itself. And then keyword stuff listings. So let's say my name is Bob's Law Firm, and I decide to get the bright idea of adding personal injury attorney Middletown or personal injury attorney Houston. Google has the unfortunate algorithm where they like a similar match and exact match in Google Maps. So if someone's searching personal injury attorney and you have personal injury attorney in your name, you are going to rank stronger. But then you're also in violation of Google's terms of services, and you can get suspended and removed completely. Here's a scenario that actually happened maybe a few weeks ago. Everyone here, I'm sure, knows of Lowe's Home Improvement. Everyone here probably doesn't know, and hopefully doesn't know, about Lowe's garage door repair opener installation, which is a fake listing. But it was a fake listing done to an extreme, because this over here on the right-hand side was created at every single Lowe's in the entire nation. And what happens is, if you were to call this fake listing, you would get redirected to their phone tree. And if you were to press 2, you would get redirected again to a Lowe's part department. But because the phone tree is not under Lowe's, that means they can listen into your conversations, record it, pick up credit card information, anything sensitive is theirs at that point. And if you press 1 and you're just trying to hire a garage door repair guy, he doesn't know who you are, and he could be potentially a criminal in his own mind. There are plenty of stories out there where, hey, you hire someone to fix your dryer. He asks for $800, he walks away, you never see him again. But because you contacted a fake listing, you can't track it, you can't go after them. They're not tied to any company. So you just want to keep a lookout for this kind of stuff. They do compete with you ranking wise, and just in general, they're potentially dangerous. If they don't have images, if the name looks off, if the website looks off, it's Lowe's, not Doors Lowe's. This business is not even claimed, because what they do is they're brute forcing these listings to Google Maps, so no one claims them, but they're still there, outranking people. This particular listing doesn't even have a phone number.
Hey, James, can you explain what are some in addition to what you just pointed out, but what are some telltale signs that a listing is fake?
The biggest telltale sign is if you were to Google Maps search this address and just zoom in, like you were on the street at that point, is like a way you can just zoom into the street view. Is there a sign? Is there any visible proof that this listing exists? Because we can see the sign Lowe's, we can't see anything remotely close to their garage door repair department. And you will see this a lot. I dealt with a client recently in the tax consulting world, and a lot of their listings were just planted in parks, in the middle of intersections. So just say to yourself, hey, there's an address here. If I was to visit this listing, could I see any visible proof that it existed? If no, it's likely fake. Or it could be real, it's just in heavily violation of Google's terms of services. In any case, if it's competing against you and it's against Google's terms of services, you can just report it to Google, they'll look into it, they'll get rid of it.
Thank you.
Now, let me just show you visually how powerful it is just taking this one key audit. This was that tax consultant I was talking about. On February 15th, we found 124 listings that were in front of their ranks. So the way my business operates is we'll audit anything in front of your listing, not behind, because we want to help you. There's so much spam out there. At the end of the day, we can't fight everything. We need Google's assistance. But we do have the manpower to fight for you as an individual business. So this business had 124 people competing against them. And in 5 days, we found that 75 of them were fake or in violation of Google's terms of services. And so we got them removed. But look at that jump in ranks. 5 days, we saw over 1,000% increase in visibility in Google Maps. But over time, because the people that make these listings just never stop making the fake listings, about 80 or so a month were found and removed every single month. So March 15th, removed 84. April 15th, it jumped to 127. May 15th, it jumped to 159. Now, what happens if you stop? So our model, the way local business protection works with finding and reporting listings, it's just a never-ending process. It's whack-a-mole, basically. But once you stop, the spammers won't, and there is likely going to be another wave of 70 more fake listings in their way again. Now, hopefully they, don't outrank this particular person's listing, but next month will probably be another 70, next month will probably be another 70. Eventually, their ranks are going to get jammed up again with false competition, fake listings. So what I recommend to everyone here is if you identify, or if we identify for you that there is fake listings harming you, every month dive in and get them removed, or you can reach out to myself and my business get them removed for you. So what do we do? How's this process done? We run a GeoGrid scan on Local Viking, and then we manually go through all these nodes and check to see who's in front of you, competition-wise.
What do the X's mean, James?
Great question. So X just means that you're 20th or worse in the map pack.
Okay.
And at that point, the scan doesn't have the visibility to see where you're at, because you could be 100th, you could be 200th. And also, if we identify that you're 20th in the map pack, we're actually not going to check that node, just because we don't want to help your competition only. We don't know where you lie at that point, so we wouldn't just check that node.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So we'll run a scan on a handful of keywords that you identify as important to your business. We'll then list out all of the listings that are in front of you. We'll then manually go through it all, because unfortunately, there's no automated process to this, but we have a team that is on standby that manually goes through all the listings for you, identify who is breaking the rules, and then reports them to Google. Now, here is the other unfortunate part of this all. Despite how extremely obvious a listing looks, despite that the listing has zero information and is staring at a tree, Google might not even agree with you with what you report to them. And it could take a few months of constantly reaching out to Google going, hey, this is fake. Hey, you need to relook at this and get it removed. I've had to sometimes go to Google's own forum boards, try to reach out to their reps one-on-one and just go, hey, you really need to look at this. This is so blatantly fake. But that's just the world we live in right now, where Google is likely just overrun. They're a worldwide company. They're probably just overrun with all this stuff. But just know that even if you report something very obvious, it might not get taken down the first try, or even second or third.
James, given the proliferation of this,
Yeah.
are there ways that Google tries to fight the spam, or?
Yes, Google has automation in play where if they pick up certain signals, such as you're making a listing in France, but you're in the United States, they can detect your API and where the listing is being made from. Or maybe your account or your IP has been flagged as a spammer. But at the end of the day, it's a huge fight between Google and the people making these listings, where Google fixes a loophole and the spammers find another
and exploit it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we had another question from Dave. Are the features such as like the GeoGrid and all, are they available outside of Local Viking, or is it proprietary to Local Viking?
There are other businesses out there that have GeoGrid technology. So I believe Bright Local is one of them. There are smaller companies such as Local Falcon. There's a handful of them.
Okay. Thank you.
But it's nothing under Google itself.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, the two big ways to remove listings is one, report them through suggest edits. And then two, there is something called a redressal form. And that's just an official form you can submit to Google to get and remove. And we as local business protection, we as the company that fights spam, does both of these for you. Once you've submitted it, it just comes down to waiting. I've seen listings go down within an hour, meaning in 2 hours, you just got bumped up a few ranks. Because what happens is, let's say you're fourth in maps and you removed 2 people out of your way. Well, you automatically get bumped up to second to fill in that void. So it is a pretty valuable strategy as far as moving up in ranks, just removing competition that shouldn't be there. It's also probably the fastest way to move up in ranks without doing black hat stuff, without doing things that are against terms of services or even against the law. And once you're done with that process, just a rinse and repeat of it. You just have to do it every month. How are we on time, Rebecca?
It's a little bit before 20 episodes, but 22 of. I think we're doing okay.
Cool.
So yeah.
Cool. So let's just go over just a few more examples as to what kind of listings are out there, just giving more in-depth examples. So this one is considered a spam or lead gen listing. This listing is pointing at a park. They don't have a website, and the listing is saying, hey, claim this business. If the listing was a real business, one, they would have a storefront listing. And two, they would probably fill out more of this information just to get it out to the public. This is my favorite one that I found making this slide for you, is a keyword stuff listing. I challenge anyone here to say this title in one breath because I can't. One call affordable best website design. I can't say that in one breath, but it's long. And the point of that is
They do everything.
Yeah, they sure do. They sure do. They're playing off the weakness in Google Maps, where if someone searches for SEO services agency, this listing now has a very strong chance of ranking high for that search term. But if we were to look at their website, we can see that they're really just called one call. Their footer says one call, their website says one call. So all we would do is make a suggest edit and say to Google, hey, the real name of this company is one call. Old and duplicate listings, we kind of went over this before, where old listings are just listings left behind by companies. They could still be competing against you. Just report them. Same thing with duplicate listings. If they're out there and you can identify them, just report them to Google. And we are your team that can hopefully alleviate this headache that is within Google Maps right now. We have a sole focus. We do nothing else as local business protection. We fight fake and lead gen listings. We fight old listings, keyword stuffers, and duplicate listings. And all of this is tracked for you to see in your own client-facing dashboard. So nothing is left to guessing or, what is going on? What work have we done? It's all there 100% being shown to you. So that concludes the bulk of the important type of audits and issues out there. We do have some time left over, so I'm going to go over some other audits that are important as well, but not as game breaking. Like if you didn't do these audits, it's not going to hurt you month 2 or 3 kind of thing.
James, one question quickly before we move into this. How you mentioned that the audits should be done about a month. Do you build it in with other, or do you suggest it gets built in with other work that you do surrounding your search engine optimization and or?
So yeah, so if you're going to 1, run GeoGrid scans, and then 2, actually be active and fight off the false competition, that should be a monthly process. And that is combined with everything else you're doing as far as building content, link building, optimizing your website. It's just a fundamental audit that needs to be done monthly.
Okay.
So could I just
Thanks.
ask a question? Can you hear me?
Of course,
Sure.
yes.
Yeah, so I'm sitting here with Tina, who owns a beauty spa, relatively new business.
Mm,
What I was wondering, James, are you going to talk about ways in terms of building your presence or strengthening your listing with Google? I think all the stuff you're talking about is very interesting. I'm not
definitely.
sure that much of it is that applicable right now at her point in her business, but we were just wondering, how do you, like, you see that guy who's stuffing all those words in the listing?
Hmm.
Do you have some tips for what you should be doing in the, Google My Business listing?
We
Any
do.
ideas?
We
Okay,
do. So we're all going to go over a few of those right now.
great.
Um, the first one is going to be a review audit. So there are two things you want to keep in mind, well, three actually, when it comes to reviews. One is, are you getting reviews at all? Two, are you getting reviews in enough, how would you say it? Are you getting reviews at the same pace as your competition? So if your competitors are getting about 5 reviews a month, are you gaining about 5 reviews a month? You want to always try to be in parity with your competition. If not, just beat them outright. If you're going 5, then go for 6. And then 3, even though everyone says, hey, a 5-star is the best rating, which it is, 5 stars, what everyone wants, the perfect score. A 4 is all you actually need. Because if you're a 4-star or higher, you still qualify for keywords like best, greatest, awesome. But the second you hit 3.9, you're automatically cut off from those search terms. So from a fundamental ranking perspective, as long as you're 4 or better in Google review ranks, then you're doing really well. And the last thing to keep in mind is the quality of the reviews. So if people are leaving keywords in their reviews, that helps a lot. So if people are leaving reviews about the spa and having the word spa in the reviews, or maybe what the spa does, that's huge.
Great.
Next is a posting strategy. So do you have a posting strategy? Are you posting at some kind of frequency on those listings? We recommend at least once a week, but more so, once again, being in parity with your competition. So if your competitors are posting a lot, then you kind of want to just match their speed. And once again, just talk a little bit about Local Viking. Local Viking offers a solution to posting. They offer scheduled posting. So you can make a schedule up for an entire year worth of content, put it into their system, and it'll automatically send it out when it's supposed to. Or you can do it in smaller blocks. Let's say you wanted to do 2 months worth of content, you can schedule it out like that as well. Q&A audit, just another basic check on, do you have questions and answers on your listing? So Q&A, unlike reviews, you as a business owner can make your own questions and answer them. That's completely within Google's terms of services. The only catch to that is you will, on the question, it would just say owner made question. That's the only difference. But if you want to use that as more real estate to get some questions and answers out there to people, that's a great place to do it. Name, address, and phone number consistency audit. So some basic stuff. What is the company's name, address, and phone number? Is that on the website? If so, is that exact same information on Google My Business? If so, is that exact same information on Facebook, YouTube, Yelp? Is that the same information on the internet? It's not as big as a signal as it used to be, but you still want to make sure your information stays up to date. And there are services out there such as Bright Local. Bright Local is a company that'll make listings for you and keep that information up to date for you. So a citation audit. So what is a citation? Citation is just listings on the internet that show your company's name, address, and phone number. So a Yelp page, an Avo page, a Monta page, MapQuest. It shows you name, address, and phone number, citation. So you want to have about 30 or so citations for every location that you have. And you also want to, once again, try to be in parity with your competition. So there's a company out there called WhiteSpark. WhiteSpark will actually do a parity audit on your listing, your competitors' listings, and to show you, hey, here is the listing that you all have. Maybe this competitor doesn't have Yelp. Maybe you don't have BBB, and BBB is a great site and you should consider getting it. But these are the kind of audits that allow you to match, if not beat, your competition. So between WhiteSpark and Bright Local, those are the two companies that I personally suggest that you look into if you want to build citations.
Can you do them on your own?
You can do them on your own.
You
Yeah,
can. It's just time consuming and you have to track it and all that jazz.
correct. It's a
Okay.
process. Like, I would recommend using WhiteSpark to run the audit. I would then recommend using Bright Local to actually build the listings, because WhiteSpark is a bit more expensive than it needs to be.
Okay. So like Margot was saying, for somebody like Tina, who is, she's a local spa, they're located in Old Saybrook.
Right.
Her first activity would make sure that her Google My Business listing is completely fleshed out, correct? That all the information is accurate.
Correct. And
Okay.
even the step before that is make sure everything on your website is correct and how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Then taking that name, address, and phone number, making it reflect on your Google My Business listing.
Okay.
And at that point, then going to Bright Local to build that information out on all the other websites on the internet.
Okay.
A brand dilution audit. So this is pretty important here. So if I was to search Perk on Main, which is a great place to go
Okay.
in Middletown, if I was to search Perk on Main, I want to see the knowledge graph pop up, and I want to see the first 10 listings in Google search all talk about Perk on Main. If I don't, that means I have an issue with the strength of my brand on Google, because now that means Google is getting confused with maybe a different Perk on Main, or maybe dogs on Main. Like, it's not clicking with Google yet, and you need to make some more listings showing Google, hey, Perk on Main is here at this address. Here is our yellow pages. Here is our Yelp page. So that's all that comes down to, is just making sure when you do a brand name search, only you show up.
Can you explain what the knowledge graph is? Is that what you're showing us on the right? Is that the
Yeah,
term for
so the
that?
knowledge
Okay.
graph is this on the right-hand side. And that's just going to be, how would you say it? I guess Google's own little section for your business, just showing you off when someone searches that name.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing that could happen is, let's say I search Perk on Main, but the knowledge graph is someone else. That's
Mm-hmm.
also not good. And the solution is just building out more citations, building out more listings, showing Google, hey, we're a business that's at this address.
And more reviews.
More
Right.
reviews as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Thank you.
Photo audit, nothing too crazy here. You just want to have some kind of plan in getting photos. And this one I know is tricky, especially for markets like law firms who are not really used to making photos for their listings. It definitely could be a lot easier for a spa. But you just want to have some kind of consistency with a photo or two every month, maybe even every week. And if it can come from your clients, that's even better, because that's really proven to Google that from a device that's not tied to your business, photos are being uploaded to your business. And that's going to just help overall ranks.
And how do they do that? How do your clients do that? Is that through reviews?
They can do it through reviews. They can do it through posts. They can also do it directly through uploading a photo. So I could be walking down Main Street. I could see Perk on Main has a cool new window sign they put up. Take that picture and upload it right to Perk on Main.
Okay.
Something else I want to touch on, because this is a huge debate in the marketing world, is something called EXIF data. I personally don't like EXIF data. But what it is the ability to add data to a photo and then upload it to Google. So you can take, say, Local Viking or other third-party platforms, tie information to that photo, and the hopes is Google reads it and it helps with rankings. Now, I can agree that Google will read the coordinate information of where that photo was uploaded from. So if I'm walking 5 blocks from Perk on Main and I upload the photo, Google sees it as 5 blocks from the store. What I don't agree with is if someone is adding keywords and all this other data, does Google acknowledge it or do they even care? In my opinion, I would say, unless you had nothing else to do, don't even think about adding extra data to photos. Doing it with your cell phone is fine.
James, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Photos that appear on the location page of your website should also be on the Google My Business listing? What do you
Yes, so that is a strong suggestion. It's not something that needs to be done. It's just a very strong suggestion because it's building up a case for Google saying, hey, this location page that talks about everything in Middletown is also tied to that listing in Middletown. That so happens to also have the same images from Middletown.
like, I guess I'm just confused. Are you talking about like a picture of the outside of our space, of our business? When you
So let's say you had the storefront image on your location page on your website, and maybe
Okay.
you had even a mascot or whatever individual images are on that location page of your website. You want to just think about maybe having them on your Google My Business listing as well.
Okay. So you are just talking about like the entrance of the building, that type of picture.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, that's what I get. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Another audit you can do is called a Melissa data audit, and this is a free tool you can use. If you go to melissa.com, you're going to end up on a page that looks like this, and I have the redirect right to this page. All you would want to do here is take the address that you have on your Google My Business listing and drop it in here. And what this is going to do is it's going to check the database against the United States Post Office to see if the post office actually acknowledges your address or if there's any issues. Maybe you're missing a suite number or a unit number. But the reason why we do this is because Google also very likely has access to the same database. So if you're having issues getting verified or any issues in general with Google, it likely could just stem from they don't recognize your address and could think you're a spammer or trying to make a fake listing. Category count audit. So once again, kind of basic, but let's say you're a law firm, you deal in personal injury, but you want to just stuff as many law firm type categories onto your Google My Business listing. Well, Google gives you that option to do that, but if you put too many categories on your listing and you don't have enough content on your website to back it up, you can actually lose that knowledge graph and potentially be suspended. So you just want to say to yourself, if you're going to have 4 more categories selected, do they really have content on your website, or are you just adding categories for the sake of adding categories? Store hours. So there are people out there that have the idea of setting their hours to being 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which if you're operating like that, that's great. But if you're not, one, you're going to have bad experiences with your clients because they might think you're open and times you're not. And then 2, eventually Google's going to catch on and either correct the hours for you or look to suspend you. So just make sure the hours that you're open are truly reflected on your listing. And that concludes our presentation. I have my contact information here. You can reach out to me personally at james@localbusinessprotection.com for any questions that you have. This is my cell as well. You can reach out to 860-876-3713. And some resources down below. This is a direct link to my business, local business protection, my day job, which is a local Viking. We also have, once again, the coupon for 50% off your first month. Bright
Oh.
Local. Oh,
I'm just curious, just to get some sense, James, a lot of, this is Margot, and I'm a SCORE counselor, so I work with a lot of small businesses.
definitely.
And I think your services would be very interesting for many of them. Everybody works with such small budgets, right? With these
Definitely.
startups and whatnot. What is kind of cost is associated with monthly audits?
So as far as the monthly audits go for the spam removal, we charge $59 a month for every listing you want monitored a month.
Okay. And what about like just doing a basic brand? Do you do just like an audit of someone's, like a one-time one and done to look at it and give people suggestions? Or I'm just curious how small businesses could interact with you on a budget-wise.
I
With
would
budget
say, yeah, definitely. I would say the best thing to do is just to have them reach out to me and we can
Okay.
have a further conversation on it, because every business is different and every
Yes.
business could have either a lot going on or, not too much going on, and we can just take it from there kind of thing. We just have to gauge it is all.
Okay, great. Well, you did a really nice job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. If there's any other questions or concerns that I can go over?
James, what are some of the biggest either industries or business types that can be the hotbed for spammers? I mean, I know you've
Anything-
mentioned, like law firms and
Yeah.
all, but are there any, that you're seeing around here that face a lot of this issues with the removal of competition?
Anything that has to do with home improvement or construction is a huge market for getting fake listings and spam.
Okay.
Anything that has to do with tax consultant, computer repair. If it's more of a smaller type mom and pop store, they're more prone to having fake listings because the mom and pop store is hungry for clients, they're hungry for leads.
Mhm.
And so what the lead generation companies do is they'll blanket out the area in favor of that one business paying them. So I haven't personally checked on spas. I would be inclined to say that they also have spam going on, but I could just check that. And if you were interested in that. What else? Anything where there's a sense of urgency is likely going to have an issue with spam. So if you're calling up a plumber, you're really not gonna, I mean, you might research them a little bit, but you're more likely to on that urgency of fixing the pipe.
Mhm.
And the spammer is going to play off that urgency and gamble that you're going to land on their listing and talk to someone who might be just as nice. It's just you went through a lead gen listing rather than an actual business.
Okay. Thank you. Well, a couple people that were on the phone actually texted me to say thank you for the information. So,
Awesome.
and they'd love to speak with you further. So,
Definitely.
we will put the recording up and send it out to everybody. And then if you're okay, we'll send the slides as well, along with your contact information, James.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
That
super.
would be, that'd be great. Thanks very much.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome, everyone.
Thanks for being here today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks, James. This was really, it is eye-opening. A little scary, but eye-opening.
It's a lot of information.
It is.
I hope it was a lot to go over. In 45 minutes, if everyone has any questions or concerns, definitely just reach out to me. We can have a bigger conversation on stuff.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
good day.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Enjoy.
Take care.
Take
Everyone.
care.
Bye now.
See you soon, Tina. Thanks.
Okay.